Hi, my name is Lois Analaki Siwan Nisert and my matrix number will be 23DBS 19F1075.
Assalamualaikum and hi. My name is Muhammad Najmi bin Swahimi and my matric number is 23DBS 19F1023.
Hello, my name is Muhammad Amin Izzuddin bin Kasturi, matric number 23DBS 19F1049.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Hambali bin Hazrini and my matrix number is 23DBS 19F1007.
On today's topic, we will be discussing on Hofstede'S 6-dimensional culture in China. What is Hofstede'S cultural dimension theory? It is a theory developed by Gerd Hofstede that serves as foundation for understanding cultural variation between countries and distinguishing how businesses are conducted in different cultures. To put it in another way, the framework is used to discern between various natural cultures, their dimension, and their influence on a commercial context. In Hofstede's theory, there are a total of 6 categories that define culture. The first one will be Power Distance Index (PDI), Individualism versus Collectivism (IDV), Masculinity versus Femininity (MES), Uncertainty Avoidance Index (UAI), and Long-Term Orientation versus Short-Term Orientation, and last but not least, Indulgence versus Restraint (IVR). In this part, I'll be explaining on each category that define culture. Power Distance Index. This component deals with the reality that not everyone in a society is equal. It displays the culture's attitude toward differences among us. The extent to which less powerful members of institution and organization within a society expect and tolerate unequal power distribution is characterized as power distance. Individualism versus collectivism. This component refers to how people in a certain culture are pushed to be a part of a community rather than autonomous in their ideas and behavior. Because business China favors the group above the individual, and because Chinese are pushed to embrace groupthink or group behavior, this dimension might be classified as low individualism. This is reinforced by China behavior which prioritizes family bonds above individual and friendship, and place a premium on collective loyalty over individualism. Masculinity versus femininity. This section looks at how society supports or discourages the masculine employment pattern that has been related to traditionalism. This element is a little more problematic in China because the culture, while paternalistic in heart, does not adhere to the obvious traditional work and life paradigm. Many women work in an industry and trade on the other hand, and this is one sector where the country is strongly tied to the West, where women are treated similarly to men. Due to Chinese culture emphasized on the balanced element of the yin and yang or masculine and feminine, many gender preconceptions and biases are absent. As a result, China outperforms the rest of the world in this regard. Indulgence versus restraint. Because their culture prohibits overt display of aggression, the Chinese can be classified as restrained or less aggressive in this sense. Furthermore, unlike other Asian countries, the Chinese do not have the same gender gap or difference between men and women. Due to the fact that Chinese culture is not as open as that Western countries, the Chinese tend to rank in the middle of the pack of these criteria. The theory is that if aggression does not conflict with the group behavior and groupthink that the Chinese value, they will embrace it. As a result, the Chinese are attempting to strike a careful balance in this area. Long-term orientation versus short-term orientation. The Chinese are known for their long-term thinking, which means they think on the future rather than the present. Since the country hopes to become the next superpower, there is a strong desire to think large and forward. Furthermore, because of the nature of conducting business in China, things takes longer and Western companies must budget appropriately. This isn't to argue that the Chinese are incapable of completing tasks on the time as the case of hosting the Olympic shows. This demonstrates the Chinese culture and business are impacted by a long-term view in this area, which allows for gradual settlement of challenges and obstacles rather than rushing through tasks. Uncertainty Avoidance Index. The Chinese culture is characterized by a high level of uncertainty avoidance, which means that ambiguity and uncertain conditions are mostly unacceptable. This is also why the Chinese despises taking chances and try to prevent losses at all costs. The Western culture, on the other hand, has a low degree of uncertainty avoidance, which suggests that people in that society do not feel frightened by unclear or ambiguous situations. Uncertainty avoidance is a key aspect in how firms from various cultures interact with one another as well as communications outcome. China has a PDI of 80 points, which is High Power Distance Index. For an example, suggesting that it is a society that considers individual imbalances to be acceptable. The relationship between subordinates and superior is divided and there is no protection against superior misusing their power. Individuals are affected by formal authority and penalties, and they are typically pleased about people's ability to lead and take initiative. People should not seek to greater position than they now have.
My part is identify high or low individual versus collectivism IDV in China. At a score of 20, China is a highly collective culture where the people act in the interest of the group and not necessarily of themselves. In group, consideration affect hiring and promotion with a closer in group, such as family, are getting preferential treatment. Employee commitment to the organization, but not necessarily to the people in organization, is low. For examples, whereas relationships with colleagues are cooperative for in-group, they are cold or even hostile to out-group. Personal relationships prevail over task and company. The next part is identify high or low masculinity versus femininity MAS in China. At 66, China is a masculine society, success-oriented and driven. The need to ensure success can be exemplified by the fact that many Chinese will sacrifice family and leisure priorities to work. Service people, such as hairdressers, will provide service until very late at night. Leisure time is not so important. The migrated farmer workers will leave their families behind the faraway place in order to obtain better work and pay in the cities. Another example is that Chinese students care very much about their exam score and ranking, as this is the main criteria to achieve success or not.
My part will be on explaining is Uncertainty Avoidance Index. The question is identify high or low Uncertainty Avoidance Index. Low. At 30, China has a low score on uncertainty avoidance. True may be relative to in the immediate social circle there is concern for true with a capital T and rules, but not necessarily laws abound. Nonetheless, adherence to law and rule may be flexible to suit the actual situation, and pragmatism is a fact to life. The Chinese are comfortable with ambiguity. The Chinese language is full of ambiguous meaning that can be difficult for Western people to follow. For example, Chinese are adaptable and entrepreneurial. At the time of writing, the majority 70% until 80% for Chinese business tend to be small to medium sized and family owned. My part will be on explaining long-term orientation or short-term orientation in China. The question is identify long-term or short-term orientation. Long term. China is very long-term oriented society. This is in which Chinese people drive to succeed in life. They are willing to persevere and work for a long time to achieve. Chinese people are not so much about instant gratification, and when they invest in things, it tends to be for the long term. Conveying the performance and durability of your product or service is therefore going to be more appealing than short-term pleasure. For example, market in China understand Chinese business culture and will help you to present your company and product to the Chinese market in the most appealing and engaging way for Chinese consumer. Call us today to discuss our plan for your company.
I will identify high indulgence or high restraint. Indulgence stands for a society that allows relatively free gratification of basic and natural human drive related to enjoy life and having fun. Restraint stands for a society that suppresses gratification of needs and regulates it by means of strict social norms. Next, I will provide the example of IVR in China. China is a restrained society as can be seen in its low score of 24 in this dimension. Societies with a low score in this dimension have a tendency to cynicism. Also, in contrast to indulgent societies, restrained societies do not put much emphasis on leisure time and control the gratification of their desire. People with this orientation have the perception that their actions are restrained by social norms and feel that indulging themselves is something wrong. So the conclusion can be made by this video is Hofstede'S 6 dimension of culture are influenced by the society and environment one is raised in. Each dimension is associated with a score to show whether or not the country has a strong or weak correlation with the trait. In globalized economy, cultural sensitivity is essential. As more companies grow and the global marketplace become more accessible for small business, multinational and cross-culture teams are becoming more common. This means that it is crucial now more than ever for business to understand the culture of their foreign market if they wish to succeed internationally. Workplace etiquette is something else that business need to be aware of if they are working internationally. The formality of address is another key thing to consider within international business when communicating with clients from different cultures. Are they comfortable with being approached on first name, or do they prefer titles and surnames? Asian countries such as China seem to be prefer the second one. Things such as formality of address may not seem that important, but if you get off the wrong foot with a potential foreign client, then that could ruin your chance of ever working with them in the future. Therefore, it is important for business to know that their level of formality will differ depending on the culture of the person they are communicating with.